right, hello everyone. I'm Kathleen, and Larry and I are here with Paige Purgar. Hi, Paige.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going pretty well. Happy to see some old theater faces.
Yes, I know. We feel the same. We feel the
shoulders
same.
up.
I know. Someone said to me the other day, "Oh, thank you so much for doing these interviews," and I said, "Larry and I are just bored. We miss people so much. This is our way of contacting people." And
It's very clever.
It's also nice to know that you talk to other actors and you realize, wow, some of them have the same fears as I do.
Yeah, right. We're not alone in this.
Is it working with me? Is that their fear? You can tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
This is an intervention, isn't it? This isn't really an intervention.
I know.
The triangle wants me to just retire gracefully. I won't do it. I'm not going.
Yeah. Don't do it. Never do it. But let me ask you, when did you get the acting bug?
Well, I do remember my whole life, being told to, calm down, be quiet. I was too loud. So probably from an early age, but officially, I grew up in Miami and we had a really incredible performing arts junior high. I'm so old that we didn't even have middle schools back in the day. They were junior high schools. And so I auditioned and got into the theater department there. And that kind of from there, it funneled into a performing arts high school in Miami called New World School of the Arts, both of which have turned out amazing people. Katie Finneran and one of my friends, he's graduated with me, did a small kind of off-Broadway thing. I don't know if people have heard of it. Alex Lacamore is the music director for Hamilton. I don't know, some people. So we've had, and also I'm a graduate. So, it runs the spectrum.
Yeah. What was the first show you were in? I don't mean like in high school where your parents had to come see you, but your first show, you would say.
Well, I was going to tell you, my first show wasn't in high school. My first show was in junior high school. And I only remember it now because it was Alice in Wonderland. And the compelling role of the mock turtle. And reason that's so interesting to me is because Marley's first show, my daughter, who does acting also at 4 or 5, was at North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater in Alice in Wonderland, in the as compelling role of Petunia, Daffodil, Sunflower. I don't know. So that's like the first one I remember. But I took a huge break after I got out of high school. I did 10 years of no theater. I was doing other stuff. And when we moved here to the Triangle, the first show I ever did here that kicked off, got my acting bug, got bit again, was a Clue the Musical at North Raleigh Arts and Creative Theater. Right. And I was Miss Scarlet, which, I mean, that's not everyone's dream role. It should be. So after that, it just kind of, I think I did a show just kind of piggyback ever since. Yeah.
And the first time I met you, I don't think I met you. I heard about you. The first time I saw you was in Death Trap with Chris Brown.
Oh yeah, at Interact. Yeah, that was probably a year or two. Yeah, so not too long after Clue, because that was in 2006. Was Clue, if I remember correctly. So
and gosh, she is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Can you write that down and send that to my father?
Yeah. The only other thing I remember is somebody banged on the wall in the show and the wall shook. That's the only other thing I remember about the show.
Back in the old days, Interact. Yeah. It was.
Oh my God.
Duct tape in a prayer.
Really? Did you have a mentor, or do you have a mentor?
I definitely feel like my first theater teacher, because we were with him I was in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, and for 2 hours a day for 3 years. And he was just amazing, Mr. Adams. And he retired after teaching at a number of different schools in Miami, a theater teacher. And now he's a pastor and he does community theater now. So he's just everyone's favorite teacher, right? I mean, loved him.
I love it.
I know I'm derailing this conversation, but we've interviewed a lot of people. We've had a couple of people who've had positive responses from when they were young at their age from teachers and stuff, and some who've had negative responses.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I was the acting teacher, if I would compliment the actors, because sometimes they just need to hear at one time, hey, you're pretty good. You should keep doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why everyone liked him. He wasn't like a hard ass, but he also wasn't just everyone is fantastic and wonderful. I feel like you could really trust him. So when you did get those good notes, you could believe them, but he wasn't there to stroke anyone's ego, even at, 14.
Right.
So I think you're right. I think you have to have that balance, or none of it means anything, right?
That's right. You're right. Have you gotten any great acting advice from anyone?
Yes. One of my early directors, when I started doing more, professional and, regional theater here, it was the first time I had to deal with like reviews in that system before, because I'd always done like, theater in, high school or college, and then not for a while. And the best advice I got was, don't believe your good reviews and don't believe your bad reviews. And I like to take it even a step further, is they don't even read your reviews, or at least not until your show is closed. Because in the Triangle, usually the run is like 3 weeks, right? It's 3 weekends. Enjoy your show. You've worked so hard for it. Don't let a review derail you or just change anything you're doing. And it's so hard to not let it. So I haven't really had to ignore any good reviews, because, I don't, maybe one day, but I've definitely had to ignore some bad reviews just to protect myself.
I remember I did Death and the Maid in Raleigh Little Theater, and we got this terrible review, and I didn't know it until someone called me up to console me how bad the review was about me. It's like, thanks a lot.
Well, there's no need for that. Yeah, absolutely.
No
Most directors I know that I work with now, the opening nights, they don't even talk about it in the building, like whether good or bad. Like, just don't discuss them. Just do the thing and don't worry about the rest of it. Just do the thing.
Exactly.
Do you have a favorite theater or film actor, actress?
I love Katherine Hahn for she's just such a great character actor. And she's such a beautiful person. She could have so easily just been like an ingenue or a typical lead lady, and her comedic chops and timing and just the stuff she takes on, I love her. But my big altar goes to John Cameron Mitchell, the gentleman who created Hedwig. And what is so frustrating for me about him is here's this incredibly talented person. He can write, he can sing, he can direct, he can act, he can do it all. And he doesn't, no one's giving him more stuff to do. I don't know if he's turning stuff down, but I just feel like there's so many years that I would have wanted to see him in stuff, especially on Broadway. So I just adore him. And then obviously locally, my favorite actor would be Ryan Brock, obviously. And you, Larry, it's a tie.
He got to play my son for one little bit we did for Seed and Art a few years ago. I said, finally.
There you go.
There you go.
Love Brock.
Yeah. What happened at your worst audition?
My worst audition was, I had reached the point in my career where people used to call me when Marley was little, and with the show I was already doing, and be like, can you maybe bring Marley in? We'll have her read or whatever. And then it became, we want you and Marley just to do the show. And then it became this, an email from a lovely director, a woman who I adore. We want to offer Marley this part. And Paige, if you'd like to come in and audition for this other part, you may.
Oh my gosh.
I think she was just being nice, because I was totally wrong. I was like 10 years easy, too old for it. But I was like, sure, because you have to be a good sport. I was like, oh God, this woman thinks she's doing me a favor, and I'm just going to waste everybody's time. So I walk into this audition, and we're all sitting in one room, and I'm just looking at all these beautiful, much younger women around me. And I'm like, what am I doing here? Then I get to read against my stupid daughter, who already has the role on lock. Yeah. So that was rough. Shockingly, I didn't get the role. But that was a terrible audition, because I knew going in, it was just like, this is so.
Did she give you some notes? Your daughter give you some notes?
She probably did, that little grit. She probably did.
There's a famous story I heard 40 years ago. James Hampton was a sitcom actor on F Troop. So F Troop closes and he can't get any work. And someone calls his agent and says, we're looking for a James Hampton type. And they said, what about James Hampton? Said, well, he's not right for it. So
that's great.
Yeah, that's acting. Yep.
Now, Paige, do you think you could name a favorite show of yours? And
Man,
why?
I was thinking about this. So I have a couple. I'm going to cheat and not really answer the question. I'll get there eventually. Okay. But anything I've ever done with Raleigh Ensemble Players, with REP, anything that is even adjacent to Glenn Matthews was a highlight of anyone's life. But some other real standouts for me, I love doing Blythe Spirit at RLT. That was so much fun. I loved Vanya at Deep Dish.
Right.
And Kinder Transport I did with Brian Yandel's company, Bigwood. We performed it at Burning Coal, and it was incredible. And I got to work with Marley too, or she got to work with me. That's all.
You and Jesse make a great team too.
Yeah, he's all right. But actually, speaking of, but I think my second favorite show ever was definitely Good People at Deep Dish.
Yeah.
But I think my all-time favorite had to be Bloody Mirrors at a theater in the park.
Right.
With
Jesse.
it was just such a confluence of, it was an incredible script. He got amazing people, with the exception of Brian Yandel. We had to carry him a lot, but we did the best we could. But that show had everything. It had a burned ear, it had a puppet. I was jump roping at one point. I mean, it was just my favorite show probably of all time.
That's great.
Is there a role you always wanted to play?
Well, actually, Marley and I were looking at back in this time last year, mounting production of a show called Memory House. It's about a mother and an 18-year-old who is applying for colleges and going through her application, and it all takes place in real time in like an hour and a half. We thought we'd be good at that because she's 18 and she's applying to colleges, and it's driving me crazy. But of course, with everything happened with the world. So my hope is that we can still do that production at a later time, because I really love to just do that role, and I'd love to do it with Marley. She can play 18 for another probably 6 months easy, but she's aging rapidly. I'll tell you that. Not as
20 years from now, you guys can do Night Mother if you want to do something, one of the most depressing shows ever written.
Really?
40 years. Give me 40 years.
Yeah.
Really?
She definitely is not a cute little velveteen rabbit anymore. Kevin.
I know. Oh, I just picture her that way.
I know.
Well, when she was in our little movie, you guys were both in it.
Right.
We actually had a music composer, and he did the Marley theme. So every once in a while, I'll run across and say, "Oh, that music was written just for Marley."
Oh yeah, and I think you ended up naming the character, like just kept her name. So that was that was easy for her.
So Paige, when you're on the stage, what type of actor are you hoping that you're on there with?
I'm hoping I can get an actor that is just completely focused on the other person and just being a good scene partner, that it's not about their light, their cue, their arc, their moment. It really, and I only pray that I can give that to my scene partner too. When someone is completely there focused, you just feel so safe. And it's not about just like, oh, if I go up on a line, he'll rescue me. It's about, you just feel safe in general, that this person is there to give you their absolute full focus and attention. And that's how it's supposed to be. I mean, that's what's compelling for an audience to watch, just someone just engrossed in that moment with their scene partner.
Right. Wow.
That's why I've never had interest in doing a one-person show, because I enjoy handing the baton to the other actor and feeding off their energy, and they're my life jacket.
No, I totally agree. I mean, that's part of the reason I love doing theater, is working off that other person.
Right.
And it's rough when you don't have that. It really is, because you can't create that for the other person. But when you have those actors around you, it feels so easy.
Right. We all have great moments on stage. Can you tell us one of your great moments and why?
Well, probably the moment, I don't know if it's a great moment, but a moment I was thinking I'm really proud of. I did a show a couple years back called The Pride with Jesse and Ryan Brock and Chris Milner, the trifecta of just amazing humans. And the show switched back and forth between these characters in 1950s and these characters in present. And kind of playing a reincarnated version of ourselves in the present. So my character in the 50s was the wife of Ryan, who is a very uptight, repressed gay gentleman who had a lover whose wife has just found out that he has. And so I end that scene with him. And then the light changes. I go behind like a scrim. I take off my coat. And then on one fluid motion, Jesse had me blocked around. I enter to see the present day Jesse's character, who's just gotten the victim of a hate crime. He's all beat up. And I just take off the coat, walk around from being, oh, goodbye, Henry, I'll never see you, da, 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 da. And then it's just, I see his face, fuck! Like that was my first line. Yeah. So just that one transition, the way that we got the lighting, Miyuki, of course, is a genius, and the direction and everything, and just being able to take that moment and just really have a literal like shedding of my skin, and then just pop into this completely different level of a scene with totally different, energy and a dynamic. And that was always so much fun for me. I probably shouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I did. I probably should have been more centered. Don't tell me
you had total control. You had total control of your craft.
Right. Okay, we'll go with that. We'll go with that. That sounds better.
Well, on another note, then, what is one of the funniest things that ever happened on the stage?
So it didn't really happen on stage. And Larry, I can't remember if this was when I was doing Mice and Men at Theater in the Park or The Real Thing. But it was definitely Theater in the Park because they have those riser seats.
Yeah.
So Larry, you'll have to tell me if you remember this. But they sold those damn like M&Ms or Skittles at the concession.
Oh.
And during some, of course, dramatic moment, if I was on stage, of course, it was dramatic. Someone inevitably drops the bag, and then for the next like 30 seconds, all you hear is clink, 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 clink. I mean, it just went on and on, and you can't really acknowledge it because it's not really part of our reality. So it's like if you have a screw up on stage, I can deal with that.
Right.
But I didn't know what to do with the Skittles. I think I froze. Do you remember anything like that, Larry?
It sounds very familiar. I don't know if I was on stage at the time, but
Okay, maybe that, yeah. But that was something.
I would guess
like
it's
it
a
went on
real
for an
thing,
hour. Yeah. That's crazy. I remember, how Jesse does Santaland Diaries, and he just, you have to be on your best behavior or he'll call you out. And I was bringing, I've probably seen it 6 times. So I was bringing some new folks, and I said, whatever you do, don't move, don't breathe, don't get up, don't knock anything over. Well, we're like 2 minutes into the play and somebody knocks a beer bottle over and it like clunk, clunk, clunks. And he looks over to us and we're all like going down in our seats, and he didn't call us out. So I was like, whoo, I felt like, oh.
I go every year too, Kathleen, and I almost even lied to a friend of mine once to tell him it started at like 8:15 because I get nothing more is a pleasure and says the holiday season has started than people walking in late to Jesse's Santaland. I live for that. I literally like rub my hands together because it's going to be so good.
I know, it's frightening.
If you could be an actress, what's another profession in theater arts you would want to do other than as being a stage mom?
Definitely not a stage mom. I kind of joke, I'm an actor. I don't really have any real skills. I play pretend and I lie to people. Right. And I'm just enamored of these people that can actually do lighting, can do makeup, can do costumes. Like they can actually do a thing. They have like a skill with their hands, lighting, costuming, or makeup, I think would be like, I just don't, and it's not for lack of trying. I mean, I did a conservatory for 6 years. I took the requisite classes. I just sucked at it. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm in awe of those people, and they don't get enough credit in my opinion, ever, If
I was a young single actor, I would be into the set designer, not the actress or actress. I'd be like, man, look what they did with that set.
Yeah. Cause they'll have a career.
I know.
Yeah. They'll get paid probably. Yeah. Good idea.
Now, if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self, what advice would you tell yourself?
Well, specific to, the theater world, I just would really like, it's just not about you. It's not about you. It can't be about you on that stage. Right. It's not, your worth is determined on getting, I mean, I've gotten roles that I shouldn't have gotten, and I've lost roles, in my opinion, I shouldn't have lost. And it's just, you have to serve the script, you serve the show, you serve the performance. And, it's so hard to keep your ego out of it, especially when you're young. And so I cringe looking back thinking, oh gosh, probably the mistakes and the missteps and foots in my mouths, I wish I could take back, but you just try to do better.
I just listened to an interview with Frank Langella, and he's great. He was talking about, he just did King Lear a few years ago, and the actress came off stage and said, I wasn't comfortable in that scene. And he said to her, like, it's not important that you're comfortable. It's not about you. It's about the audience. Right. The audience has to believe you. You don't have to believe it yourself, Right. You got to serve the work, not yourself.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And just to continuously remind yourself of that, So, yeah, I don't know if I'd have listened to myself, but
No, right.
I know. Now, what's the first thing you want to do when we get out of this pandemic, other than come back to Durham?
Just lick things. I just really miss just being able to lick like doorknobs, spit on people without, just really just letting loose with a lot of just stuff. I don't know.
I want to sit in the audience and get a spray gun, and people in front of me, I go and keep spraying them with water, make them think I'm sneezing on them. So
that's a great goal, Larry.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is too funny. I know. We went out recently to a brewery outside, and we had some neighbors come, and I noticed that even though I felt very safe because we were outside, people want to talk to you close, and I kept backing away, and they just kept, you know what I mean? And I don't think they even knew it, but we are that's what we want, is connection. Right. And I had to keep moving away.
Virtual hugs don't quite cut it.
Yeah. It's hard to remember. I have been for real quarantining. I haven't seen any, I've seen, other than my husband and my daughter, I've seen, I think 3 other people that I know that I've actually seen in person, in my house. And, and obviously I go out occasionally, grocery shopping, but that's it. We don't really do anything else. I'm worried I'm going to forget all of these, even when we go back to normal. I haven't been practicing avoiding people, watching spacing and what 6 feet.
Right.
I'm terrible at math anyway. Another reason, people go into acting. But I feel I don't know if you've seen that movie Nell, because I've been up here in the woods for 6-8 months now. Right. I'm gonna have to re-enter society and learn how to behave amongst people, because I've been out of it for a while, because I don't have any instincts to not do what I'm used to doing when I finally, I'm be so excited to see people again. I'm gonna just reinfect the triangle. So
I like our David Woods comment he made a few months ago that he's starting to miss people he doesn't even like,
Yeah,
that was great. It's true though. It is.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because this whole lack of theater is hard.
Yeah, I've been so impressed with how creative people have been just to keep anything going, from doing outdoor theater, from doing, obviously the Zoom stuff, just any and everything people can do to just kind of keep things just alive for themselves. And so, I want to give a big shout out, Seed Art Share is a great anyway for doing that. And just in regular times, they're always so creative in their presentations, and Renee is just a force of nature and an amazing human being anyway. But I really feel a lot of that's going to stick around, I hope, even post COVID, whatever the heck that looks like. Even I don't think it's going to be back to one, I think it's going to be a subtle slide of a couple things here and there, and a couple things we may want to keep that we found,
Well, like Kathleen and I talked about, if next show, if we do another show together, and it's only a few months after the pandemic, will the audience get uncomfortable if actors are really standing close? Do you have to find shows where the actors are not standing close to each other?
But that's a good point. It's not just about the audience physically being comfortable with their body positioning. Yeah, you're right. Sometimes watching other people, you can get that anxiety of oh God, they're too close. Yeah, that's something really to think about, Larry. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, we've been watching the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
And
good.
I love, we're done. I wish there was more, but there were so many times where, she's going to play chess and she shakes somebody's hand. And then the next scene, she's got her hand in her mouth, just like this. I would never have thought about it before now, but now I'm
all these shows that have shot previous, they have to have this gigantic caption, shot before COVID. Please don't write less letters, basically.
And if you and I were on stage,
right?
Yeah.
I'm probably setting you up for a joke, and you and I had to share a drink, we wouldn't think anything about it, because that's what actors do. But
right now you don't know.
See how I didn't take your bait, Larry. See.
I know.
Oh, well, Paige, thank you so much. This has been wonderful seeing you again, and please tell Marley hi.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I know you initially wanted this interview with Marley, and you settled for me when she wasn't available.
I know, we decided. I guess we go with Paige.
Thank you for giving an old theater tag another moment. I feel like Grisabella. I really do.
And we're both like 20 years older than you, Paige.
Yeah, so you're good. But
Not on
thank you
Zoom.
again. Thank you again, and be safe and enjoy the mountains.
Thank
And,
you. Yeah, we will.
Yes, hopefully we'll see you soon.
Yes.
Thanks, Paige.
All right, bye.
Bye.